Sometimes just
It's
losing the
fair.
deck builder, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, Damo making the very good point of the matchup isn't that bad for Witcher NR because you just ban Kelly if you're bringing Witchers, which
Ah, yes.
I-
The ban button, the let it win for free button. Okay, so next match we're going to be seeing is, I believe, Shaggy versus Akela? If that is, let me double check in Discord. Yeah,
yeah, I'm
Shaggy
not
versus
listening either.
Akela. I've got Shaggy's deck lists here, and I gotta tell you, these are pretty spicy. We got Carapace Pirate's Cove, Pincer Maneuver, and Precision Strike. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, looking at
yeah, I
this.
saw
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
the P Strike deck I seen earlier on in the tournament as well. It was one of the members of Team Austria has had quite a lot of success with a similar deck. The Gaten is a new addition, and it's also taking this devotion route, just really trying to cram in as many points as possible. So definitely a little bit different to the ones I've seen earlier on, which were using which had an Aneromancy. I really like the look of this deck, just pure juice with the Ethne, the Gezras, and going for the Council and Call over Aneromancy. Looking forward to seeing that one in action.
Yeah, this is deck we saw a little of right after the expansion dropped with Symbiosis, or with the with Gezros in the movement package. But sort of fell out of favor, and instead players opting to either play it with the natures or going a non-devotion route with elves. Notably, the Eastern Grim's Council here, guaranteed on Elf for the double Thana Sentry, letting you play that at 6 power and 1 armor, much harder to remove for decks. And having that powerful engine stick on the board is a big deal. Now this Pincer Maneuver deck is...
Yeah,
There's some
some
spice here.
yeah. There's some very uncommon cards, particularly in the 9 provision range. Trying that is catching my eye.
We got Kiramets, we got Odo. This is looking like some engine overload Draug stuff going on here. Temerian Drummers, Tridem Infantry in the bronzes, double Karak Frigate. We got a Griffin Witcher for blue coin with the Crystal Skull. And then the PFI package with Draug just to get a big tempo play. What do you, I've been experimenting a little bit with Draug in these non-Erlindy decks. Have you done a lot with Draug post PFI?
Honestly, like I haven't actually played too much Northern Realms this season, kind of surprisingly. But I mean, like Draug just seems great with like PFI, just a well-stated card. So I could. It's interesting not to see the Erland, but rather than just like saying, okay, I've got this Erland as a finisher, like just going for this engine overload approach instead. Like I feel like there is a bit of a diminishing returns of Erland when you're not playing it as a carryover play, but trying to use it as a finisher. And you don't want to go like leader charge for Erland with this deck either. So it's definitely an interesting approach. It's not really one I've seen too much of. What's been like your experience with like the no Erland?
It's been interesting. There was the Commandos deck that some Team Aretuza players played yesterday that I tried out earlier. Basically giving Draug, instead of Draug being forced to be used on Commandos in round 3, you have this separate package of being able to push round 2 or round 1 even with PFI and Draug, and that alone can take some rounds. It's a lot of points when you're able to convert the ones into 3s and use those to gun down the opponent's stuff. Yeah, I've been impressed by it.
When you're playing a deck that's got Anna, it's got double frigate, it's got double drummer, it's got a tridem, it's got Reynard, even Kira with her vitality as a card you need to play somewhat early, Queen Meve and King Foltest. You certainly need a long round for all these cards to gain value because they are really going to be competing with each other as engines. I imagine there's going to be some hands we might see with Shaggy where he's just got too many engines and therefore having a way with like Draug plus leader and PFIs to win round 1 nice and cleanly and just force this long round would make a lot of sense. I suppose as well, ideally he would have first say in a long round 3 to be able to develop these engines a little bit quicker. So might even just see Shaggy sort of trying to make some sort of tempo pass with Foltest maybe, and then just forcing like a long round 3 with first say.
Yeah,
So like almost intentionally losing the round.
Before we move on to his opponent Akela's list, one quick note on this Pirates Cove deck is playing Grand Inquisitor Helvide in the golds, cutting one of the bronze thinning packages in order to have those extra provisions.
The life coach inspiration.
Yeah, I mean it's sweet with Gellert for sure.
Yeah, that's it. And I think having spoken, I think Paya mentioned he played against Shaggy with this Helvide, and Helvide completely smurfed on him and won Shaggy the series. So definitely a card Shaggy has enjoyed. I know in the line pockets meta, Previously, Shaggy was a really big fan of Kurt, which proved to be a card a lot of people included in these Line Pockets deck, and it seems that Helveed is a card that Shaggy enjoys playing in his Cove decks.
Yeah, switching over here to Akela's list, we've got Deadeye Ambush, Pirate's Cove, Blaze of Glory, and Imprisonment. Haven't seen much Nilfgaard so far, but for starting with this Deadeye Ambush deck, while the other players decided to play Redea versions, we're going non-Redea here, choosing not to brick the opposing heat waves, instead play some more bronzes. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you get a lot, the bronzes you get are a lot better. Like, you can invest in this double commando, which kind of feels a little bit dodgy in the other setup because you're playing things like Dryad Enchantress and you often don't even play one. So commando's a great card. The Swordmaster as well just gives you like a little bit more oomph. I kind of dig it. I'm not sure I love the Crushing Trap Ida. Ida, like, just a more expensive sappers, but obviously playing for more points when you're not using the Purify. And the Crushing Trap seems a little bit of a weird one to me, like without the Hattori. But definitely interested in seeing how this one plays out. I definitely can get behind no Redea though, for sure. But you're giving Heatwave a lot more value, certainly.
Definitely. As we were talking earlier, how just it was worth giving up the Great Oak to make sure that you deny the last two chapters on that Heatwave. The card's just so big in these elf decks when it resolves. These next two lists, we got Pirate's Cove and Blaze of Glory. They look fairly stocked to me. Notice he's playing the Morels in his Cove deck. I'm not sure if there's anything else you'd want to note in these two before we get over to the Imprisonment deck.
No, I mean, maybe the Ransackers catches my eye a little bit. Not really a common card I've seen at all. I'm not sure if it's there for a tag, potentially. The Shakedown also gives you the cut-up tag. But no, the Sewer Raiders are also Tide Cloak. So a little bit surprised to see the Ransacker as the option. We did also see the Beggar, though. So seemingly a little bit flexible, this 1/4 provision card. Yeah, obviously you're playing Devotion, so you don't have like the luxury of playing like a single Spores. Pretty sure this Cove deck would love to play that kind of a card because it would just be like an extra tool punish, and you're using this Morelsi, which is kind of a bad card, but it's just one way of getting a tool punish in a Devotion Syndicate deck.
Tide Cloak in my chat just noted there's no Yutta in this Blaze of Glory deck, so using it just for the Great Swords, not spending those extra provisions to fit in that 12.
Yeah, the double Greatsword, and also going for the Heime Protector with the blue Dim and Light Longships. Not something super common, and it is the the Blood Eagle setup. Not any discards in this one. We've seen, of course, lots of discard orientated Blaze of Glory decks. So we're playing the Skirms. We've seen lots of in the last series we saw the hybrid between the both of them, and this is a more traditional Blaze of Glory with the Blood Eagle and going with the Protectors as well, which can just play for an awful lot of points in round one for a 4 provision bronze card. But the downside of these Protectors is it does give green tool punish cards value. Cards like Spores, cards like Morkvarg, which otherwise wouldn't get any value against this SK deck, can find value in round one. Especially because Mask of Uberos is the stratagem now. Before, at least you would have like TA or Crystal Skull giving these green punish cards value, but it is only the Protectors. So that is like the big downside of this card, but it is very, very well statted if it doesn't get responded to.
Yeah, then lastly, there is this Imprisonment Ball deck. I think there have been a couple of takes on Ball Nilfgaard this season as people had to switch their lists up after the tweak the Ball, not letting it trigger off of Spies. Opting to play Seditious Aristocrats and a Van Morlum Hunter for additional Aristocrats in the bronzes. Has Fergus in order to make those Seditious Aristocrats better. And yeah, you played against this deck a lot on ladder. I know it's been pretty absent around where I'm hanging out.
Yeah, I've barely seen it on ladder at all. I think it's certainly more popular in the tournament meta, as it's just like another one of these decks that you can bring, like an Uprising, that's sort of like these more mid-rangey things, like Akela making a conscious decision maybe not to bring monsters here, even though like on ladder I would imagine it's a faction he's bringing, maybe just like not wanting to play into Lamberts and play into Tool Punishers. And we saw like as well like the Elf matchup into Kelly's kind of weird, so all the monsters decks seem quite targetable potentially, so like just taking this Imprisonment deck as like a safe option maybe that he feels confident with. And yeah, like the most of the builds look kind of similar now. Seems as though Seditious Aristocrats as well as Double Hunting Pack is like the preferred way to go about having some Aristocrats. A little bit surprised to just see one Hunter down at 4 provisions, just because often with this deck you're forced to mulligan Masquerade Ball in round 2 if you're getting bled, and then you're just going to be looking to top deck some aristocrats, which before, when you've got a card like Coup guaranteed, you would just need to find Roderick or Joachim, and then you would have your aristocrat package. But now you're going to need to top deck those 2 aristocrats. And the other way you can go about building this imprisonment deck is in the top end. This Joachim, Gortha, and Cantarella package has been chosen by Akela still. Of course, no longer proccing Masquerade Ball, but just playing them as value cards that can cycle the deck, maybe find the Brathans or the Vigo you've not drawn. In fact, no Vigo, which I've got to admit, Trinet, not a fan. But of course,
Really?
there are now a lot of different bronze cards. So the Vigo is a little bit worse, but Vigo potentially just like a better, cheaper Brathans if you can find that informant.
Yeah, when Vigo's good, it is really good, but man, does it feel bad to play when you have like 6+ bronzes in your deck. A lot of the time you're looking for exactly 1 card or maybe 2 cards on a certain board, and missing those rolls can cost you a lot of points. But
yeah,
looks like we have our game invites, and we are in here on Shaggy versus Akela. We got Carapace versus Imprisonment to start the series. Carapace, in a lot of ways, is sort of the natural counter to this leader ability. Carapace giving Veil and 3 boosts, where Imprisonment only locks 2 things with 2 charges and damaging by 3. So 3 extra points and Veil to sort of play around the locks. You said you haven't seen this Imprisonment deck a whole lot on ladder. Do you have any thoughts on this matchup?
It's a really interesting matchup, honestly. Like the Carapace is well suited to counter Masquerade Ball in the fact that you can veil your units, play around poison. Same with the leader charges as well. You can really prioritize the cards you want to keep safe. Having said that, Masquerade Ball does play a Purify to get through Defender and Cupbearer, and it does have Invocation as well to answer things like Dash. And the fact that Akela's brought this going first as well does just mean that Shaggy isn't going to have the option to go Siri Dash with the Eager and Alchemist snipe. What a skillful start from Akela here.
You know, you complained about Siri Dash last time. I'm going to complain about Alchemist a bit here. This card is some nonsense, man.
Yeah, it's it's a very difficult card to include in your deck as just a 5-for-5, but with the location, it's just a proactive play, and that is quite an upsetting start for Shaggy, who responds with a Nithral, looking to apply some pressure. Like, okay, Akela's got this big carryover play, but Shaggy's saying, okay, mate, you've high rolled me, but now I've got my Nithral. You can't answer it with anything apart from Invo, I do believe. So this Nithral is going to be playing for an awful lot of points. And yeah, like the fact that Shaggy's taking this going second does mean that this Siri Dash is probably just going to be a really bad card in this matchup, because the leader charges are just going to clean her up. The only real way she's ever going to go through is if she is sat behind Cave Troll and there's no Purify. But we can see Akela is going to have the response to the Cave Troll. And Brathans, respecting the Nithral here, is going to just slam some tempo. Akela looking to maybe just get out of this round and force Shaggy to maybe try and bleed the Masquerade Ball out.
Yeah, this Yigrin is so big in this matchup too, because this Nilfgaard deck just doesn't have damage in order to take it out. So not only is this a 13-point play that Shaggy loses and Akela gains, but he can play it in round 3 so that the Azrael doesn't get a great consume. For Shaggy, if he wants to kill a Yigrin with like 7 armor, he's got to play a Wrath or play a Heatwave onto it. Ugh. Man.
Yeah, like the one downside Alchemist does have is it can low roll on your side as well. We saw it high roll the Eager, but it is potential to see like 3 really good gold cards. And I think Akela actually gave up the Remedy, which is a 5 provision card. Of course, ideally you would rather give your opponent a 4 provision card. Now, the Remedy for Shaggy is also clogging his deck essentially, because it is just going to be a card that he's going to want to mulligan. So yeah. Alchemist sort of working as a proactive clog that's also just got the potential to high roll.
Remedy's basically a 4 provision card in this matchup, right? Like, what are you going to steal? You can steal Forktail, you can steal Wild Hunt Hound, you can steal Strays of Spala, maybe? But there's no guarantee these cards even end up in the graveyard. I guess, like, a Spy? Take an Emissary? Better than most of the bronzes in Shaggy's deck. Probably don't want any Informants. Here we got the
Wrath.
Wrath.
Shaggy going for the tempo is going to keep him ahead, and his engine is still ticking along. This means that Akela doesn't have that luxury pass, and Shaggy is still applying a lot of pressure, back being against the wall with this Alchemist high roll on Eager, and is feeling like he really wants to try and win this uneven. And this is a massive downside that Nilfgaard has. Like, the round 1 power it has can be quite abusable, particularly when you're including cards like this this Hunter in the deck that are very, very low tempo. Akela just doesn't have access to many other good plays here with no Invo to punish this 14-point Nithral.
Yeah, he's got 2 poisons. His opponent has a Veiled unit and the 1. There's another Emissary that he can play for 6. There's a Cantarella that gets you an Experimental Remedy right now, which doesn't have any targets.
Could go for putting the Anira on top into the Cantarella.
Big. That is big.
And that is going to not only deny the consistency of Shaggy by essentially squirreling away the Aniromancy, but it's also going to give Akela that extra consistency in his own deck. Because the Aniromancy is still not doomed. The Aniromancy only becomes doomed when it returns to the deck at the end of the round. So Akela is still going to be maximizing this Echo value and will have an Aniromancy of his own into round 2.
Oh man, I completely missed that. That is huge. Denying the tutor for Shaggy, denied the Yigern for Shaggy, has a Yigern, has an extra tutor. Skillful deck manipulation, as CDPR would say. Here we got Siri Dash coming down, just looking for something to do, gets locked.
This is where the Hunter is just absolutely going huge. A 4 provision response to Siri Dash. One of the best cards if left unanswered, but certainly feeling the full effect of this change to the Carapace leader. And yeah, I mean, look at the location value in this game, Trinet. We talked about the deck building decisions that this Masquerade Ball deck could go. You could still sack off this Cantarella Joachim location package for maybe like an extra tool punish or something like that. But Akela really, really being rewarded for his deck building decisions here, because the Cancer location really just winning this. Just winning this round 1, at least. It seemed like it could have been a tough spot, but really, really being huge.
Yeah, Akela is still just playing some bronzes, gets that Emissary out of his hand. With Shaggy can't give Veil to the Siri either, so he can just play poisons as well if he wants to. If he ends up needing points here. What is going on here? Is this a Maxi? Yeah. Really would be nice if there was a way as spectators to see whether or not that Maxi kept or not.
I think that was my smoke alarm that just went off for a second, unless it was from my headphones.
No, I'm certain that was mine. I don't know what's going on.
Mine does it sometimes too, quite recently, so you're not alone. Mine's usually just around dinner time when my dad starts cooking, so... Shaggy, couple points behind, doesn't invest the leader charge to try and get ahead here. And Akela still does have this option to pass, however, does have double poison, which will clean up the dash. But of course, this Cupbearer is so useful as the Purify play to answer the Cave Troll.
Yeah, true. That is a big reason to want to hold on to this Cupbearer. So, he has a Nithral, he has a Yigern, and then he's drawing an Aniromancy. So the 3 draws, we know what they are. What are the mulligans gonna find? Do you value this Fangs of the Empire at all against Carapace? No, right?
Probably not, no. I mean, what you can do with it is, like, particularly on the neutral cards, it can be good, but with the dash going, the Maxi going as well, I don't think there's really many neutral cards that the Fangs could threaten.
I think it's just Trays of Spala and Squirrel remaining at this point.
Yeah, so probably just going to be keeping the Cupbearer to answer the Defender. So definitely a card you're happy to have in your hand. And the coup gets mulligan, and that is because Akela does have a Menno instead of the Vigo for that extra consistency. And in this case, wasn't needed, so does just mulligan. But really, really nice hand for Akela. Lots of gold cards. No Masquerade Ball either, which is just what you want. And Shaggy as well, kind of forced to keep this Ozreal in hand, doesn't have the luxury of mulliganing it with the fact that his Aniromancy was stolen. And Shaggy taking the long round.
Not only are there lots of gold cards in hand, but there are still lots of gold cards in deck. He's still drawn to the Fergus, still looking for the Joachim, still looking for the Masquerade Ball. Lots of... just so much quality was gained in round 1 between the Alchemist and the Invocation.
Yeah, the carryover, the Aniro, the Nithral, the Egon, all from Shaggy's deck.
Yeah.
Just pretty filthy.
He drew 3 golds this round, and they were all from his opponent.
And remember as well, these cards are going to be proccing Assimilate on cards like Cupbearer. We saw the Brathens go already, and there is no Vigo, but Menno is going to be a proactive option that can play the coup de grace to put this on top of the deck as well. That is going to be an option, but also could go for the Hernijow's Thin. Does take the Menno, thinning the coup, guaranteeing another gold card in the hand for round 3. So definitely like this decision to mulligan the coup. And the Menno, again, I talked about it, like you've got this Menno instead of the Vigo, but actually this deck building decision again paying off in this instance.
Yep, picks up the coup. Informant, not at its best. Probably not going to get a target for this Informant the entire round. So I'm sure that's going to be kicked away. And we find Fergus. Ball still in deck. Ball can be gotten off of the Roderick, and then we got a Neuromancy for just whatever bronze you're looking for. Maybe Seditious Aristocrats, maybe Nausicaa Sergeant.
This is kind of just the exact sort of position you want to be in if you're playing Nilfgaard Masquerade Ball. The big weaknesses of the deck are getting to this stage, the consistency in getting to the sort of position where you've got your Masquerade Ball, you've got your Aristocrats in a decent length round 3. However, Akela has managed to do that, and he's managed to do it in style with an E-Gun and a Nithral of his own. Shaggy does still have 2 leader charges available, which are going to be really important to try and play around the poisons and the locks of Akela.
Yeah, so he's got a Cave Troll that's gonna get purified. He's gonna have a yeah, you're gonna purify that, and then you have leader charges for just 2 of your remaining threats. You can leader charge the Kelly, you can leader charge the Beast so it doesn't get locked, and then the Azrael can come down last. So everything should be veiled. Nothing aside from the Cave Troll. I guess the Cave Troll gets poisoned by the ball. We do see that Aparian Phantom come down. Akela finally getting out that Nithral, establishing an engine of his own. Still
Assimilate value on the Cupbearer as well, trying out. What a fantastic card. I wish Northern Realms had a card like this, that it's an Assimilate engine, it's a Purify and a Poison. A really, really nice card for the faction to have, and I think, honestly, should be sort of the standard of the 7p Purify in most factions. I think it's just a really, really nice design of a card, and there's a reason that it still sees play, despite not having been changed for a really long time. Really, really just a great card.
Card just has an enormous amount of utility, as we do see the Masquerade Ball come down for Akela, getting that Thirsty Dame down. Thirsty Dame works real well with not only the ball, but he's got Fergus, he's got Joachim, he's got Usurper Emperor. Plenty of tags going on, plenty of statuses going on his opponent's board, as well as any Carapace charges that gets used, also boosting up the Thirsty Dame. We see Joachim coming out, pulling another engine, getting that Nausicaa Sergeant out. Nithral, no dominance, as that Aparian Phantom is absolutely gigantic, but more engines coming to the party as we go back over to Shaggy with the Beasts.
Oh, and Shaggy plays round the ultimate coup play with Imprisonment, which is you can go leader charge coup onto the Beast, which is just a phenomenal play. But having to use this leader charge on the Beast is far from ideal, because you're going to be wanting to use these leader charges on the Keltalis and also to play around Poison. And here comes the Fangs off of the Joachim. A really nice find, I think, here, because just asking the question to Shaggy, do you want to purify your Cave Troll, or are you going to let it die?
Yeah, I mean, if he uses the Carapace on the Cave Troll, that means that he can't protect his Keltalis from the lock. I imagine we're just gonna see the Cave Troll die here. Let's see.
Yeah, This is just like an example of why I love the Imprisonment leader ability over Double Cross. These sorts of matchups where you're just really demanding your opponent to make some answers. Shaggy does, in fact, take the Veil on the Cave Troll to protect it, which does mean Kelly is going to be able to be locked, but Shaggy's going to be hoping to maybe just play Kelly for deploy value or something like that. The Spores is going to still be playing for a lot of points, and the Ozreal as well. In comes the Usurper. The Fangs of the Empire is going to be an option, but having to poison just the Joachim, far from ideal here. The Aneromancy, I do believe, though, can just fetch another Fangs. I think there's one more left in the deck. I could be mistaken. There is. So that's just a really nice flexible option to have.
There's the Kelly coming down. Gonna get answered by this Imprisonment lock. We got an Ozreal with no Yigern to eat, no Kelly to eat. Oh, that's not a good Ozreal. It's playing for 6. We got a big Spores. Ouch. But Yeah, the Thirster gets a 7 now. We still got a Fergus, so it's going to grow by 3 more. Thirsty Dame continues to grow. Yeah, this doesn't look very close.
Yeah, big gap in this one with Fergus still in hand for Akela. It's a Spores and Ozra, which is just not gone well. And yeah, I mean, this round 1 for Nilfgaard was just quite phenomenal. The Alchemist onto the Egern, of course. Also then the Cantarella onto the Anirmancy, denying Shaggy's consistency. And the Invo onto the Nithra. Just so much carryover from Akela. Shaggy probably wanted to do some sort of bleed in this round 2, but just didn't have that luxury. And only having 2 leader charges into round 3 is far from ideal as well. And this is where Masquerade Ball is just not to be slept on, this sort of a round. Again, the consistency of getting to this stage is where the deck has its weaknesses, but when it's in this position, there's very few decks in the game that can compete with it.
Got a 13-point Fergus coming down with last. Extra leader charge just for good measure to deal 3 more. Yeah, Shaggy just passing with the Spores in hand. Good Spores, but once again, just not enough. Not enough. Okay, I think we are back. Have our game invite.
So Russia 1-0 up in the series overall after Aluha's 3-2 victory against Ferdinator, and Russia striking first in this second series. Akela, of course, who is going to be at Gwent Open number 2 in around a month's time against the Shaggy Nuts, of course, who is going to be involved in Masters 1 next weekend as an analyst. Really looking forward to seeing Shaggy on the analyst desk next weekend for sure.
Yeah, that should be good. I haven't looked at who's covering that event. Are there 2 analysts or just 1?
Shinmiri is casting and analyzing, so he's doing a bit of both.
Double duty.
And then, yeah, exactly. Yeah, really cool, I think, to see Shaggy. Someone that was involved in Master Season 1 a lot as a player. Obviously, somebody that streams as well in the community, so I think, yeah, and he's just been so consistent in making like the final 4 of qualifiers this season and everything, so it seems like the perfect choice. And very excited indeed trying to see this devotion, movement, precision strike engines deck. It's got a bit of control, it's got engines, it's even got a bit of point slam with cards like Ethne and particularly this Gaten. I think I'm really excited to see as well. Even got the Oak Critters.
2 of them, I believe, right?
I think it's just 1 actually.
No, maybe
from
just
memory.
1. Maybe just 1. I think I'm thinking of a different list. Yeah. But yeah, this matchup's a bit of a blast from the past. Something that we saw a lot more right after Master Mirror came out. We had the really engine-heavy Precision Strike deck up against the very removal-heavy Warriors deck. Historically, I remember this matchup looking pretty good for Skellige, but I mean, I'm sure things have changed since then. Do you have any thoughts?
No thoughts. I have no idea.
No idea.
Not a clue.
Completely.
And this is like one of the matchup. This Haymay Protector. This is one matchup where actually certainly like I spoke about when we looked at the decks. It does give value to these cards that punish green strength like Spores, but Devotion Scoia'tael does not have access to any tool punish unless, of course, you want to play a Serpent Trap, which Shaggy is not doing. So these Haymay Protectors are just going to play for pretty phenomenal value for a 4 provision card.
I think about 5 as they get rebuked.
This Haymay Protector is not going to be that good.
Traded for a 5 provision card. Can't complain too much.
No, exactly.
Yeah, Protector threatens a lot here. It also absorbs damage from the Cat Witcher, as the Cat Witcher can hit the unit next to the Protector and just waste that damage. We see War of Clans to bring it back in round 1. Not a card commonly live in round 1, but we're seeing it here.
Yay, Protector's going. It's back. Okay, let's go.
Killing off that Longship before it can cash out onto the Protector and getting some damage in the process. Then Cat Witcher moving back to put that Protector back into rebuke range. I don't think we're going to see Forest Protector committed into round 1 with this point gap, but options there. Options there.
Nice to see the Treant Boar back as well. The Forve being the Dryad, meaning it's getting Zeal, of course. Really was a card that was very popular back in the day, and with the Sentry synergy it has as well, can just justify it. Often you would be playing Malena. I'm going to double check. I'm not convinced Shaggy is playing Malena in his deck here, but certainly with the movement synergy, it does make sense to try and go as all in on possible on these movement engines and just overload your opponent.
Don't think there's
Digger Castle as well is another option. So I really just like the look of Shaggy's deck. In this particular matchup as well, the Fergus can be quite game-winning if there's no Purify on Akela side of the board. I'm going to pull the deck list up now to double-check that as well.
The Fergus?
Sorry, not for... what's the blimmin' defender called?
Figus.
Figus!
Yeah. Oh. Definitely big in the Skellige matchups. Not an easy way for the Grimace-less versions to get over it. A lot of the time I'm going to be forced to even commit leader onto it just to get it out of the way. And anytime you're using your 12 damage on the defender, not really what you're happy to do. Not really what you're looking to do. Notably, when you're not playing Malena, you can sort of ignore the defender, as a lot of the engines do move back and forth, so maybe you instead let the defender go and try to kill the Gezras and Cat Witchers on their off turns when they're in the melee row. But, yeah. Defender...
Yeah, like... The Figus, I was speaking to Red Ray actually about it, and Gravesh the other day, like some games it can just feel so bad because it's trading up like 2 points on a Purifier, like a Sappers, for example, and it just feels like it's a real waste to include in your deck. It delays your engines as well, because you just want to be playing your engines rather than playing this defender that just gets responded to and essentially just is playing for just a flat 7 points and nothing else. But in other matchups where your opponent doesn't play Purify, which in this case Akela's SK is not playing a Grimace, the Figus can be quite game-winning for the Scoia'tael, particularly with like a movement card that could move the Gezras just out of the range and just keep it in the back row behind the defender.
Yep, Scoia'tael getting around control here. Got to imagine this is exactly what Shaggy needs. I know the deck used to push here to try to deny veteran value because the obviously even though when you're a card down in round 2. Being able to try to push out the Herald before it's in Form 3. All the bronzes are worse. Squirtle is worse. Squirtle not able to just one-shot a Sentry at 5 damage in round 2. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to see a bleed here. As plenty of good cards added to the hand here for Shaggy. Yep, definitely a push, as Fergus gets committed immediately. Or Figus gets committed immidly. Man, you're rubbing off on me.
I've done it! Done you dirty.
You got me good. Got me good. Yeah, looking at Akela's hand. What is the answer here? Vabjorn is just on Blood Eagle. No stunning blows in sight. You have some pings in Longship and Brockvar Hunter if you want to kill it a little slow. You're not going to have Adrenaline on this Bear Witcher for quite a while. Looks like he's just going for Brockvar Hunter, dealing the point. I guess next turn you can Longship, hit it down to 5. Then Brockvar Hunter plus Longship puts it to 3, which is still just out of range of Blood Eagle, but maybe Blood Eagle into the second Brockvar Hunter kills it in a couple turns.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to try and sink some damage into the Figus and just slowly but surely plug away, and then try and save cards like Hjalmar off Blood Eagle, etc., to actually answer the engines themselves. And Ethne now being committed from Shaggy, this is just another card that works, and this is why I love this deck from Shaggy. He's got the control with the leader that also helps him polarize his 4 provision cards with the Sentinels. There's so many 5p cards you end up playing with this movement package, but the Sentinels are just another way of swarming the board for Gezras, and that's exactly what Ethne is doing here, putting lots of bodies on the board quickly, and also just developing another engine, because cards like Council and Cool as well are now going to be playing for an incredible amount of points. So really loving this from Shaggy. Just, I think, again, loving the deck building decisions from him.
Yeah, Shaggy going real wide to make his Gezras better, but keep in mind, this is going wide early in the round, so Gerd is going to deal a lot of damage here after the Ithne and Figus. Back over to Akela. No rush on the Gerd. We might see... How many golds are missing? Still missing Iced, Squirtle, Hjalmar, Harold. Yeah, I mean, you don't really want to play Blood Eagle for a Brockvar Hunter. Yep, just going for the Gerd now. Able to deal with the Figus in a couple of turns. Potentially Vabjorn into the Blood Eagle to kill it, and then pull one of your golds, maybe. Able to get the Squirtle, maybe able to get Hjalmar to take out that Dolbathana sentry. Back over to Shaggy as he just plays the Cat Witcher into the sentry. Goes back to the range draw, boosts up to 5, and the Gezras is all set up for next turn.
Yeah, and Kosak's mentioned in the chat that this Gaten is looking quite awkward. So often what you want to do is you want to move things from the front row with Gaten into the back row, and the sentry is going to boost everything. But yeah, the card can prove to be quite awkward because you've got cards like Gezras, you can fill the row, and often you just want to play in the back row. So while Gaten on paper in this deck is just going to be an absolute must-have, sometimes he can just prove to be a little bit awkward, which is why like maybe he's not always the auto-include that like the maths on the card would suggest.
Yeah. Bloodthirst on the Raiders, able to clean up that Figus without needing to commit the Blood Eagle. But now we have an undefended Gezras, but Cat Witch is still ticking, still got Dolbathana Sentry. Even if this Gezras gets answered, Shaggy's got the engines. Still has a Dryad Matron that can come down as well. Call of the Forest is threatening another engine, either Stiga Castle or Dryad Matron. Castle could potentially turn on the Gaten by moving 3 things melee and then boosting them all up with the Sentry, then you use the Gaten to move them all back to the range draw. That could be big.
Yeah, and like with the ability of leader charges, just so much flexibility of putting bodies on the board quickly, so could even just decide to keep this for later. But yeah, like the Matron still in hand this far on into the round, far from ideal, because that is obviously an engine card you want to play a lot earlier on. But Akela, time for the Blood Eagle. This is a big moment, Trinet, because this is the only opportunity to tutor this ice, to tutor the Hjalmar, to tutor the Herald, and does take the ice. Respects the push from Shaggy, and this is another reason that Gezras can just be so good in this matchup. Like, no option to remove this Gezras apart from with the leader, and of course no Jutta in the deck.
He drew both his greatswords, so just getting an invader out of it. Still getting ahead. Cat Witcher representing 3 points on the movement here.
Akela is going to be breathing a heavy sigh of relief that he was able to kill this Gezras and it wasn't slightly out of range. That could have been quite the turn of events. And now the Matron down in the back, the Sentry down in the back, the Cat Witcher is going to be coming in too. The full leader Trinet is going to clean up this Hunter. We're going to see the Sentries in the front, which now this opens up this Gaten as well, potentially. With Gezras no longer being a thing, filling the back row is no longer much of a problem. It's going to, okay, switch off your Matron. Wow.
You could
it's
even...
all just coming together, the deck, the leader.
You can Gaten ranged and the Matron keeps going. And the Cat Witcher keeps hitting the back row, too.
The only
I guess
problem with Gaten in the back, it moves
Sentry.
the Sentry,
Yeah,
right?
Sentry's too far over. Yeah, I guess Gaten always turns off the Matron. You can... Yeah, I mean, Shaggy is ahead. Akela still with Harold left. You know there's going to be a Blood Eagle on top of deck. Harold Skjorl, Hjalmar. Yikes. Okay. Yeah. Continuing the push, committing even harder, pulling out the Dryad Matron to... I mean, we're committed to the 2-0 at this point.
Yeah, and the Matron's working with each other as well, because this second Matron is going to activate the first one. And with the Sentry down the board, they are just now playing for a lot of points. And despite playing these engines so late on into the round, they're still just absolutely popping off. This engine overload list from Shaggy doing the business, it looks like. Akela just doesn't have the answers to these cards, and as soon as one engine sticks, it becomes very, very difficult indeed.
Now the Gaten range is live. It's only going to move 3 units, so the Eithne, Rowdy, and Young Dryad get moved.
Wow.
So he gets to keep the Sentry. It's huge. As long as this Drummond Berserker Ping doesn't hit this Broccolon Sentinel or this Treant.
Okay. I'm trying it. You're so ahead of the game.
I think I might have been a little slow there. I think the Berserker might have just hit the Sentinel there. But yeah, here's the Gaten.
Perfect Gaten filling up the front row while the Sentry stays on in the back. The Cat Witcher moving to the back.
There's no points for Akela. He doesn't have his golds. It's a 4-point greatsword, 5-point greatsword, and an 8-point Bear Witcher. Yeah.
The Shaggy Nuts putting on an absolute clinic. Scoia'tael versus SK, and Shaggy with the humongous 2-0. I think that deserves a nice little clap, and chat seems to agree.
That was a dominant game there. Movement easily getting through. wow, that game didn't look close. Like, he was ahead for one turn after the iced, and Shaggy was just like, no, I'm going all in. You're getting 2-0'd. Iced's not enough. I want everything. Like, missing gold, sure, but man. That was a big point gap in the end. Like, a Herald wouldn't have done it.
This Gaten is like such a big brain card. Like, it's so difficult to implement in this kind of a deck well. But Shaggy just pulled it off to absolute perfection there.
It was so good. Oh, the perfect placement. Everything just worked. Man.
It was a great watch.
That was a really fun game to watch. I am glad we got to cast that. Chat with the low-hanging fruit saying, that's nuts. The capital N.
So, we're 1-1 now, right? Shaggy strikes back.
I believe we are.
He gets his revenge for his stolen E-gun, and we go into the third match of this best of 5. Remember, so far this is the third place playoff. We're going to be having the final a little bit later on Seely's channel. It's going to be Germany versus Poland, the two favourites for the tournament. Austria being last year's winners, and Russia being just one of the most stacked teams as well. And yeah, we saw in the first series, Ferdinator close but no cigar. So Shaggy really just looking to keep Austria in the fight for this third place.
Okay, we got Shaggy on Kelly up against Akela's Deadeye. We saw this matchup earlier, but it was a little bit different. So before it was Redea. This time it's not, but I believe there's still roughly the same amount of answers. There's still a Dragoon over here for Akela. We've still got the Kieran to lock. I think there's still a Heatwave in the deck. So one fewer movement card overall. No making a bomb, but instead just higher bronze quality overall.
Yeah, like being able to get this, the Officer Bonded can be a really nice card. And just doubling up on these engines. If you're just playing like a one-off Elven Swordmaster, you're giving so much value to just like a single removal card. Whereas if you've got 2 of each of these 4P engines, they really pay off. Just like that engine deck we saw in the last game, engines have a lot of value the more you play, because ultimately at some point your opponent's going to run out of answers, and that means that your engines will then stick and play for more points.
Yeah, of course. You don't want to just play one engine, have it get answered by 4 damage, and nothing else no other engines for the rest of the rounds to capitalize on that. You'd much rather just have, if you're not going to play multiple engines, that engine that you played was better off as just a better tempo play.
Yeah,
see
exactly.
Shaggy, yeah, going for the Cave Troll here. Has
Yeah,
access to
Akela,
that Siri through the Neuromancy. Looks like Akela's probably just going to get down second Swordmaster. Yep.
Yeah, I think, and this is kind of like the perfect thing that the Swordmaster does. If you don't have this Purifier that Akela would have liked to have had access to here, at least you can just play some engines. But he's going to be feeling really, really sad to have missed his Purify. Shaggy not going in Neuromancy for dash, but instead applying pressure in the round with Nithral, really just prioritizing points. Because, of course, if you want Siri Dash to go off most effectively, you have to play her within the first 2 cards, because her timer goes off before your opponent has the option to pass and keep card advantage. So this is like a big decision from Shaggy to prioritize an engine rather than card advantage. And Akela's got all 3 of his engines up and running, and Shaggy's going to be looking to answer them. And with the Nithral, he can certainly start plugging away at probably this 4-strength Swordmaster.
When you're on Red Coin, the equation changes a little bit since you're able to just stay ahead and still deny your opponent the pass. Your Siri Dash doesn't necessarily have to go off as long as you're still winning on even.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Nithral just makes it that much easier to stay ahead. You'd much rather have Siri Dash in play and be ahead than be able to like try to win the round up a card rather than just win on even with the Siri, if possible. But staying ahead does guarantee the win on even regardless of Siri's timer.
And yeah, like traditionally on paper, this should be a favored matchup to the Elves, due to the fact they do have this Dragoon, Kiran as well being a movement card. But Shaggy definitely applying a lot of pressure, because usually Elves is a deck you see going second, and you know, this is probably why, because it can just be quite lackluster in round 1, and we're seeing that evidenced here, and it's probably why Shaggy's prioritized this Nithral here, just really applying this pressure, realizing the weaknesses of Elves being this round 1 tempo, and just yeah, like with Beast still available, Eager, and it just looks very much like Shaggy's going to be winning round 1 on even here.
This Cave Troll playing for the full 11 power as Akela continues to try to work through it the hard way, and the Thrall getting 2 a turn, slowly taking out Akela's engines one at a time. Parasite last turn dealing 8 to the Swordmaster that was denying dominance, then getting finished off by that pesky Nithral. Shaggy gets the Yigern down, develops the carryover play. Akela, yeah, just passing on 6. Doesn't even need the Siri Dash to win on even, does Shaggy? And
yeah, and often you'd see a pass on 5, and the reason 5 is often the number you pass on is because then you go into round 2 where you both have 8 cards. So Shaggy wouldn't just have the luxury of dry passing and forcing a card. He would actually have to play a card, and Akela can try and stay ahead. However, in this situation, if Akela was to go for Maxi, for example, he was going to end up having to commit a really, really big gold card to take the round, and decided instead it's just worth to take the earlier pass, except you're losing on even, and don't commit any big gold cards as well, and go into a long round. So, like this pass on 6, again, 5 often is that number, but because of the lead that Shaggy had, I think this pass made a lot of sense at 6 here.
Another notable difference between passing on 5 and passing on 6 is just the amount of time you have to get ahead, right? If you pass on 5, then you only have 1 turn to get ahead. If your opponent plays a card and you don't immediately catch up, your opponent can still pass for card advantage. Whereas here you have a little bit more of a buffer, able to play 2 cards before the tempo becomes a concern.
Yeah, and
Maxi.
Against a deck that's got an Eager, and it makes sense to try and give yourself a little bit more time to try and get that card advantage back. And again, remember, Elves should be the favored deck in this matchup, with Shaggy just going for a proactive Maxi. Still has access to his first Nero, but it's a very bronze-heavy hand for Shaggy. And if we're looking at Akela, hasn't had really the luxury of mulliganing golds. It's got this Oak, this Venusiol, Isengrim, Yaven, all big cards, and in order to keep the card advantage, Akela just starts off with this proactive Venusiol, applying pressure, and I think Shaggy, looking at his hand, is just going to be like, okay, maybe I'm just not going to get card advantage here, but I'm certainly going to be able to make some pretty efficient trades. Having said that, the Forktail, while it's a 4 provision card, Trinet can often be worth a lot more than a typical 4p card in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, even here, it's playing for 7 already, and Akela's only played 1 Swarm card. Here, getting the Beast down, trying to push for those points, getting the engine. Akela notably making his Spores a little worse by playing the Bowman, though likely looking to save that for Azra later on, if that's possible. Akela committing leader charges to Yaven down this Beast. 21 to 11, pulls the Alien 26 to 11, looking like a solid lead into the round here for Akela. But these Forktails, playing the Pact first, makes sense. Want to try to bait out units from the opponent, though. This is looking like a pretty juicy Spores. If you're not going to have last play anyway.
While Shaggy is here playing into the Spores quite dramatically, he's just saying the Forktails he values more. He's just trying to make some more efficient trades, and I think also wanting to hold on to this first Aneromancy due to the threat of a Squirrel, I do believe. I'm just going to double check that.
Yeah.
There is actually no Squirrel in Akela's ST list, so Shaggy's going to be free to commit this Aneromancy as well, which is actually going to be really nice because it's just another bad card he can play, essentially.
That trade actually ends up working out really well for Shaggy here, as he plays a special card, his opponent plays a unit, and this Forktail dealing damage to this Maxi, if the Spores ends up being a thing, isn't really dealing any damage. Just Forktail comes down for big value into Shaggy's 8 units. Effectively dealing 1 or 0. Yeah, effectively not dealing anything to the Maxi, that's getting reset anyway. We get 10 to 24, second Forktail coming down, narrowing the gap even further, only a 4-point gap after those 2.4 provision cards come down.
Look at the hand of Akela. It might not look that good at first glance. Okay, you've got a bronze and a couple of golds, but you've got this big Oak, this huge Isengrim. But then the Kiran and the Dragoon are the only movement techs available. There's not 2 Dragoons, there's no making a bomb. This is it, and these cards are going to be absolutely crucial to answer the Keltullus.
Yeah, for sure. With Strays of Spala in Shaggy's list, 1 movement doesn't do it.
Oh, that's so cool. The Strays of Spala tech from Shaggy coming in absolutely clutch, meaning that Akela is really going to be incentivized to keep double movement in hand, and that is not going to be easy. So again, Shaggy's deck decisions just seeming to be coming out clutch here, and
He kind of good, isn't it? I'm surprised he just trades that off. This isn't the Redea version. I guess he still has the Keltullus?
There's the first Dragoon, and Shaggy again, he sees this Dragoon.
Now.
While it's just a 4p bronze card, Shaggy gets a lot of information from this Dragoon play because it is not a card you want to be playing. It's the same as when we saw the Eisengrim. Shaggy just has the read at this point that the hand is really, really good. He's wanting to force as much as he possibly can as well.
Oh, there's still a Heatwave in deck too. Wait, okay. So there's Kelly Dash Ozrel Phantom as real cards remaining for Shaggy. Akela with Oak, Feign Death, Elias, and Ida for gold elves. Wow. This is I mean, I would say this is looking pretty good for Akela if he finds the Heatwave to deal with the Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, being able to preserve the scenario for round 3, if he can fully proc this scenario, have the Heatwave and the Oak, that would be pretty impressive. He can't fully proc
the scenario then. He's only got 4 cards. If he has Oak plus Heatwave, it's scenario plus 1 elf. So he can't have everything.
Even if he draws perfectly, which, by the way, doesn't look like the Aneromancy's a great start, but like a bronze elf could be pretty good as well as an option to proc the scenario. And on the other side, the dash for Shaggy isn't really going to be doing too much. Finds the scenario, has the bronze elf, so this could just be the keep of the hand, having the option to proc the scenario fully, or take the Heatwave and just not take the Waylay off of the scenario here.
Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily need to answer the Kelly if you just don't commit too many units early on. But you're always going to, because the Feign Death's going to make a bunch of... This Kelly's just going to be good. I don't think there's anything... Kelly can... He could not proc the 3rd Feign Death, maybe? I don't know. But natural selection comes down here. Shaggy... This Unitless turn's pretty big as well. You could Oak, I guess? Oak delays the Kelly for another turn?
Are there any proactive elves we could go for from a Aneromancy? Maybe we could take like a leader charge and boost with the...
The problem with the proactive elf is it lets Kelly come down a turn earlier, right?
Right, that's a good point.
And
yeah, maybe you just have to play an 8 for 13 in the Great Oak, which is
far from ideal. It's a 9. I believe it's booster cards, right? Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, it's not the worst. It's gonna get wrathed, but it's not the worst.
It could be worse, right? Yeah, it's true. Yeah, the fact that it works with the scenario is definitely something I overlooked there. Similar with Gaten as well, that we saw in Shaggy's deck. That also does work with location in that deck. So the scenarios, the artifacts do have some synergy in Scoia'tael.
No, we're not playing the Oak. Looks like we're just going for the Aneromancy for Ida, presumably.
Elias,
that makes more sense. Yeah.
Elias, definitely a nice proactive elf option to have. And then just Akela here just accepting the Heatwave is not going to be an option, and then is going to be getting more value off of the Oak. Not going to be able to answer the Kelly. However, the Phantom, if Shaggy isn't careful with leader charges, could be cleaned up here, I do believe.
Wait. What's the answer to... there's still Heatwave. There's still Heatwave.
Yeah, so this makes sense. With no Yavin, the Bowman can only deal 2 with the front row, and then the Waylay's dealing 3. The Oak as well isn't going to be... Wait, Oak can kill this, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Oak just cleans it up.
This is the great thing about Oak, the ability to use it as a value play, but also as a removal tool, and especially a very efficient removal tool, because you can do the perfect amount of damage and get that little extra bit of boost. Oak really putting in a lot of work, and that is a 30-point lead here for Akela. But Keltalis enters the board. Full leader available. Shaggy just accepts he's losing to Heatwave and does not play around the Heatwave, because Heatwave would just be losing in any situation. The Waylay comes down. Not a lot of points as the finisher. It's a 17-point game. This Wrath is playing for 9, and the Kelly is still going to be proccing, but it's not going to be enough. And Elves, proving that Elves do what Elves do, and that is beat Keltalis. And it seemed as though it was going very, very well for Shaggy, but Elves still come out on top. The top decks, admittedly, trying that for Akela, probably perfect.
Yeah, I wonder how different that game is if Shaggy guns the Kelly a turn earlier.
Yeah, because when we saw the Aneromancy, right, that meant that Heatwave was no longer an option. But Shaggy obviously didn't make that read. Was just
it's a hard read to make for sure. Yeah, like I don't know, if you just say like I'm going to lose the Heatwave either way, then go for the Kelly to get 3 extra points. The Oak might not kill anything. Maybe you're clicking on the Phantom the turn you play it too to get points that way. I don't know. I don't know if it makes a difference. It's at least 3 points better, but it might only be that.
MRN in the chat as well, making an interesting observation. There was a maxi played, of course, in the observer mode. We don't actually know if it's clicked, but there is quite a big possibility that Akela knew exactly what were his top decks and therefore had it all under control, if that is in fact the case. And of course, if he shuffled with maxi, and Darth is saying he didn't click it, so knew exactly what he was top decking, and it was calculated from Akela. What a card Maxi is trying that at 6 provisions. Wasn't seeing any play at all apart from Silex. I know was rocking Maxi in a Portal AQ deck at 6p, but now at 5p, just one of the best non-devotion cards. Really like another payoff for not playing these devotion decks is you get access to this Maxi.
It's such a fun card to play with too. Like, not only are you able to play it as like a sort of a cheaper, less powerful thinning bronze, but it doesn't brick like the thinning bronzes do, and you can also just play it to keep your deck in the order if you see it in an order that you want it in.
This is match point for Russia. Set point, match point, because if Akela wins with his Skellige, that means that Russia are 2-0 up in the series overall. So Shaggy has to win this series to force the third and final matchup, and therefore Shaggy needs to win these next 2 games. He has to be beating the Blaze of Glory. And has Kelly, which Trinet, traditionally speaking, is one of the biggest strengths of Keltalis. It can absolutely farm Skellige. Having said that, the great swords for Akela mean that he is going to have up to 10 removal with his Hjalmar, which could be a factor. But also Akela's lack of Purify certainly not going to be helping him at all in this one.
Yeah, I feel like this matchup has slowly gotten a little bit more balanced over time. I know when Kelly initially broke onto the scene, the what was it? It was the Rain Leader. What's it called? Puts a siren in play.
Rage of the Sea.
Yeah, Rage of the Sea was the popular Skellige deck of choice, and that matchup might be one of the closest to 100-0 matchups that I had ever seen in Gwent. There was nothing that deck was able to do to take a game off of Kelly. It was crazy. But then Patricidal Fury started seeing play, and that leader sort of gave you a little bit of counterplay into Kelly, putting tokens on the opposing board. And while it still wasn't a good matchup for SK, the matchup wasn't 100-0 anymore. And now, with Blaze of Glory as well, giving you access to another removal tool, these decks having Hjalmar plus Greatsword to deal with more threats. The matchup's still not great, but it's not what it used to be.
Yeah, and speaking with Red Dream on Friday as well, he feels as though the discard version of Skellige is a lot superior in this particular matchup, and actually thinks it's a big advantage of playing Blaze of Glory discard, because you have a lot of tempo. You maybe play a Gremist. I know the main net deck plays a Gremist to answer the defender as well, because the matchup is better. Whereas this one, you sort of accept the matchup's bad and don't bother with the Gremist. But the discard SK, what it can essentially do is, rather than killing the dash, you can just try and put so many points of tempo on the board that actually the dash doesn't gain card advantage necessarily. Still a tough one, but definitely helps. And this Blaze of Glory list, without the discard package, without a Purify, it's going to be an uphill battle. But he does have Exodia. He does have the ship sandwich, or the Protector sandwich with the ship in the middle. I guess it is the ship sandwich.
Yeah, you don't call sandwiches bread sandwiches, right?
No.
That's what's in the middle, it counts.
Probably not. I used to work at Subway, and I used to have a man that came in and order a cheese Subway with cucumber and tomato ketchup every day.
Wow, that's an order.
Every day.
I don't really want to think about that. Every day?
He also, I was at university in Liverpool, and the Liverpool FC manager Jurgen Klopp, who's a big German guy, the guy looked almost identical to Jurgen Klopp. So it was the Jurgen Klopp lookalike that ordered the cheese and ketchup sandwich with cucumber as well, of course.
That's certainly memorable. Oh, but yeah, Siri Dash going off for Shaggy, and we got just one of those Siri Dash games where looks like he's going to be able to win on even despite the ship sandwich. Greatsword coming down next to one of the protectors to have another thing going as that boat runs out its lifetime. Raiding fleet for the second boat. Bleed onto either the Hound or the Yigern. Yeah, I don't think it makes a huge difference, as the Yigern's not going to be taking that 8 armor damage as the ship sandwich comes back online.
Yeah, and also with the greatsword down on the board as well, the raiding fleet is going to be buffing the greatsword. So there's a few extra points Akela's going to be gaining passively here. The greatsword, great synergy with the raiding fleet. However, Shaggy does have the option to pass and gain card advantage because Akela would have to go down 2 cards. Shaggy's just not really interested though. Feels like he's in a comfortable position with this Wrath. Is still going to be playing for a lot of points, and Akela back still against the wall with this. I'm not sure if this War of Clans is activated, and Blood Eagle just playing straight into a squirrel as well. So certainly not ideal, but the fact that the War of Clans is activated for Akela may be making his situation a little bit more manageable. These protectors are playing for quite an impressive amount of points here.
Yeah, it looks like one of these protectors might end up trading for this Imlerith's Wrath as a squirrel. Likely the play here. No, still no Blood Eagle graveyard. My bad. Blood Eagle still in hand for Akela. Yeah, might just be Wrath. Might be the pass. Don't think Forktail is even... Forktail's barely... No, not even positive, right? As the protectors get damaged, Vabuorn gets damaged. Protectors get boosted by 2 apiece. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage. Plus 4 on the protectors. I guess Forktail's playing for exactly 4. So Wrath able to clean up one of those protectors, so the points wouldn't have really mattered on one of them, but anyway, it does take the Wrath on the protector as we go back over to Akela. Ship Sandwich no longer in play. One of the protectors up to 11. Looks like we're damaging the Yigern down. We got 2 on the War of Clans, able to bring back the Brockvar Hunter as well. And then Longship potentially finishing it off. Oh no, just gonna kill it all right now, maybe? Does he have 2 damage? I mean, if he's lucky. Is he lucky? Huh? 1 and 3? 1 and 3 to be ahead? You think Akela's a madman?
Ah, right. I see what you mean, yeah. I was not seeing this line either, but yeah, the fact that Shaggy could take a hero pass here, just say, yeah, I'm fine. I like my odds here, but also the squirrel has now been activated for Shaggy. On the Blood Eagle, and yeah, this Forktail just not popping off either with the protector down on the board. Actually, this round has turned out quite awkwardly for Shaggy. Takes the pass, trying to...
I love this. Are you a madman? Is Akela a madman?
Akela, you do not.
How bad is this matchup? Do you think it is worse? Do you think this spot is worse than 33%?
Yeah, that's just high roll, man. You've got to believe. Akela, I'm going to lose so much respect for you if you play a card here.
I love this.
Believe, you've got this.
I love this.
I know you can do it.
This is the line, like, you played for this line, right? When you went for the Berserker. This is what you wanted. You're 1 and 3 to win the game. Come on.
Do it, Akela.
You have to. It's so... You're so unfavored if you have to play a card, right?
Do it.
It has to be better odds.
The chat wants it. Trying it. Oh, no!
Misses. Oh, what a hype moment, though.
And just the forfeit.
I respect that so much.
Can we get a round of applause in the chat for Akela? What a legend. What a great effort. That was tremendously well
What
played.
a line, too. It all worked until that last moment.
Moral victory, Pab says. Exactly. And
you gotta wonder how much of that was planned.
The good news is it's not all over. We are heading to a deciding game 5 in this one, and that is a really bad matchup for Akela. He doesn't have the Purify for the defender. He is back against the wall. He found a line to win it, and gave himself the best chance possible. And yeah, like for Akela, yeah, whatever. You're always going to lose that matchup. You went for it, and you've got to respect it. I think you can have no regrets trying that.
I think that was the most hype SK versus Kelly matchup I've ever seen. That was incredible. I think the only one that competes with it might be the one time... I think it was... Was it also Shaggy when he gutting slashed? No, that wasn't Shaggy. Was that Magpie? Gutting slashed his own unit? I feel bad forgetting who this was, but it was in one of the qualifiers.
Maybe Paya, I think. Paya definitely.
May have been Paya Ball. Yeah.
Slash is one of his, the Dragon Slayer. He's been nicknamed. I think it was it Masters Final? I believe. It was like in the actual.
Was it
the final of Masters? I think he gutting slashed.
Yeah, I think what it was. It happened in the qualifiers on one of the streams, and a lot of people didn't notice it, and then it happened also in the finals of the Masters. Yeah, or in the Open. The first time I saw it was hype, and that was in the qualifiers, and I think that was Gravesh, but yeah.
We've got Shaggy and his pincer maneuver Northern Realms with Reynard, Odo, Kiramet versus Akela's Blaze of Glory. And again, there is a real problem here trying it for this Blaze of Glory list, and that is the 7-point card in the hand of Shaggy that has the defender status, because there is no easy way for Akela to deal with this. Shaggy has the Foal Test, he has a done banner as well, doesn't even need to invest the leader charge, and that could just be a win on even right there. And it looks like Shaggy agrees, playing the defender down, and this is the biggest weakness of these Skellige decks. Defenders just absolutely destroy them. I found myself last season playing Northern Realms. As soon as I put in a defender into my deck, my win rate against Skellige just went from being completely terrible to actually really pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it's crazy, especially if just round control is the most important thing. Able to go Donamir into honestly whatever, and just have any kind of engine stick against SK's mediocre round 1 cards is going to be able to take it.
We've seen Akela really struggle against with his Blaze deck, and against the ST deck of Shaggy there was a defender, and against this deck as well there is a defender, and you can just be rewarded for not playing defenders because they trade so poorly with Purifiers, but this is a situation where Shaggy's defenders are kind of winning in the series, it almost looks like. I don't want to call it too early, but Devotion Foal Test is quite scary indeed.
Yeah, this Foal Test playing for carryover as well as winning on even, incentivizing Akela to maybe pass on 7 if he doesn't think he has a chance of keeping his card. Wonder if Shaggy will continue to just like play down to... No, you want to win on even, right? Surely you want to win on even. That's got to be better than extra carryover on more done banners. Yeah, here I'm... Surely this is just you play done banner down and get those going. Stays ahead.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're thinning your deck from one done banner. Foal Test, of course, the Devotion Foal Test is complete and utter filth. Because not only is it pulling creating another done banner and pulling the others, boosting, it's also boosting the one in the deck by 1 point.
Akela's playing into it.
Yeah, he's just going for it. No.
Whoa. Shaggy's deck does play Pavetta. He does want more done banners for later. Every turn that he plays is 3 potential carryover for Shaggy while he's winning on even. I'm surprised to see this. Yeah. I thought for sure we were going to see pass.
I think the problem as well with Akela, I guess from his perspective, if he passes here, he's just sort of succumbing to these massive engines that Shaggy has in a long round. And also, it's not even like a risk for Shaggy to push into the round because he won on even. So, yeah, I can certainly understand why Akela is taking this line. It's just a really horrible spot for him to be in here.
It's just that it's not getting better for him. It's only getting worse.
If you think Trinet as well, knowing that he had this matchup to come, this decision he made to take the 1 in 3 to kill the E-Gun making even more sense, because Pincer Maneuver can consistently do this with leader charges, but Shaggy just even had the luxury not to commit a single leader charge because he had the Foal Test, the Defender, and the Dun Banner. All 3 pieces of the puzzle were available.
Yep. Second boat coming down for Akela, making his Greatsword grow a little bit faster. Keeps that Protector Sandwich online, currently double decked here with 2 boats in the middle. Not really what you want, but one of these boats going to be dying shortly, so that this 4 is able to boost up both of the Protectors. Donamir bleeding for 4. Shaggy looks like he's playing a Dahlia onto something. Yep, a Dahlia coming down onto the Karak Frigate. Comfortably staying ahead as Full Test continues to tick for 5 points a turn. 5 points a turn and 3 carryover.
It's pure filth. It's actually crazy. It might be a little bit too good, honestly. It's kind of nuts.
Full Test is a crazy card.
I love it.
I do too. I've enjoyed my time playing Full Test decks.
To see like when Full Test was released to now, just like a slight change giving him this boost is quite
slight
impressive,
change.
Really.
This change was insane!
It is, but like on the surface, you're like, okay, it's boosting once per turn, but yeah, like when you realize the synergies and
it's synergy with itself. Now you don't need to assemble like a 3-part combo; it's just a 2-part combo. It's so crazy. Like maybe you can say like Bloodthirst 2 to Bloodthirst 3 on Iced was a slight change, though I would say that was a pretty impactful change as well. This change is bonkers.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Akela here. Remember the bigger picture. If he wins this match, which is looking very difficult for him, Russia will finish 3rd place at the Aretuza Gwent World Cup. Shaggy looking to put the first point on the board for Austria and force the third series. This is the deciding one in this series, so the winner of this match is going to take the series. So if Akela wins, Russia a third, and if Shaggy wins, we will go to the third and final series.
Akela managing to stay more competitive into this round than I expected him to, as Voltest is about to no longer be an engine as this row in the melee is going to fill. Shaggy also running out of things to play. He can Odo, I guess? Odo is a soldier, correct? Yeah, soldier knight.
Yeah, I mean, Akela, there's not many SK decks that could keep up with the complete destruction of Voltest, but actually these Heime Protectors are putting in an absolute shift. 12 and 11 points respectively for 4 provisions is absolutely no joke, and Shaggy doesn't have that tool punish available in Pincer, Devotion, Northern Realms. The only way you're going to have to do that is with a Bloody Baron, which of course, if Shaggy had in his deck, would be able to cheat it with Pincer, but he doesn't have it. He doesn't have access to that Baron in his deck. It's not in the deck builder. He's got Reynard, Kira, and Neve in those sort of provision slots instead.
Yeah, opts for the PFI instead of the Odo. Potentially willing to commit the Draug? Just committing Odo this turn? The Draug doesn't get a head? Oh man, does it? 7, 8, 9, but if you click it, the revs don't multiply? I guess you can upgrade a bunch of your ones. Huh.
And yes, Wilson in chat is just as surprised as I am to see Kira and Reynard Otto making an appearance. Wouldn't be too surprised if Kira Metz maybe catches a slight rework. Of course, we do know that 21 changes are coming to Northern Realms. We can only guess which, but being a mage, as well as like Ildiko and these sorts of cards, could definitely see it happening. So this could be maybe the last opportunity we have to see Kira Metz in a current form. Maybe she keeps the same ability and just gets buffed. Maybe nothing, but the Reynard, I'm not sure why we've not gone for a Reynard in between 2 cards here, trying that. What's that all about?
I think it's just BM. I don't know. Like, Shaggy's not able to play another card. I don't know why that would matter. Why you would want Odo to only boost 1 unit, but it was exactly enough points putting it on 1 unit, and we do see Shaggy taking the pass.
Can you believe it? I did not see this outcome happening. Not only did Skellige manage to win the round,
that was crazy.
It didn't even lose card advantage, and it kept Harold in hand.
Yeah, that was crazy. I did not expect that at all. I thought Akela had no chance at escaping that with his card, but not only did he escape it with his card, he won the round.
And one downside for the Skellige player here is while you might be tempted to try and bleed out these dumb banners, the Draug, the threat of Amphibious Assault is forever looming. The pincer maneuver ability can put it in hand, and that is going to be an echo card that's going to be just trading for one of your golds. So trying to bleed Northern Realms is kind of tough in a lot of situations.
We got Red Ram in chat rooting against his teammate and testing partner Shaggy as he is calling it a degenerate full test pile. I guess not a fan of the massive carryover here. So many dun banners. So many dun banners. But Shaggy missing his Amphibious Assault, missing his Pavetta. Does have Draug plus PFI. Meve, I think, always gets sniped by Blaze of Glory. I don't think there's any other big targets for that. And it does appear we are seeing Akela push into round 2, not wanting to deal with all these engines and the dun banners in round 3. Looking to simplify the game a bit as he plays that Herald onto the Raider.
Yeah, I think like this is spot on from Akela. I think the bleed is going to make a lot of sense. However, it is going to be severely dampened by the fact that this Herald is kind of just trading quite close to equal with an Amphibious Assault, which is just not a commitment card at all from Shaggy. The only commitment really is the commitment to put it in your hand with a Luther Charge.
Yeah. Shaggy can play PFI to try to turn on the Draug. Might want to just play a little slower with Carrack Frigate to establish his engine. That might make more sense. You can go Frigate into PFI. You get 2 clicks on the Frigate before you have to play Draug. And then you have 2 turns. And maybe you get to save the Meve? Maybe? I guess a Meve that goes off on your last turn on a bunch of dun banners is still pretty good value if it survives.
Yeah, Meve's also just not that easy to get down on the board and boost her as well.
Yeah, true, this is Pincer. So. Oh, he doesn't even have a way to boost it. I guess he can pincer charge for a booster. So he's sending away the... there's like 2... Oh, yeah. It's pincer. He has access to AA. Of course he has access to AA. He's pincer.
And here comes maybe the best card in the game. I'm going to call it. I think it might be the best card in the game.
I agree with you.
A completely unfair card. Even has the option of going for Kira Metz, if that is something Shaggy would like to do, of course. You wouldn't be getting the boosts from the provisions because she is a 9-provision card. I think with Marine being in the deck, that seems like the most logical option. But in fact, the Pavetta, again, AA just showing the flexibility of it. It's not only is it a point slam echo card, but it's also a tutor potentially for cards like Defender and Pavetta when you need them most. This gives Shaggy, of course, the option to Akela the option to pass, not getting ahead. But now Shaggy has got those dumb banners ready to go in the deck. Not going to be able to boost them with this hand, but that is his round 3 win condition set up. So he's just looking to survive here with the Draug, most likely.
Yeah. So able to echo that amphibious assault, notably drawing to a pretty scary deck with lots of dun banners. He has 2 mulligans as well as a leader that can mulligan it away in round 3. We got the Bloody Eagle coming out here for Akela, committing the Iced. Looking to push big here, killing off the Pavetta.
I like it.
I like
Yeah,
it a
I think
lot.
you've just got to go balls to the wall here. You know what's coming with the dumb banners. You probably get the read that it's not that easy for Shaggy to actually play the dumb banners in this round. And you can completely clean up these ones. Look how sad this poor little Draug is. Of course, you can use a leader charge to maybe get rid of this Griffin Witcher and put in a better card. Maybe even you would get rid of the Meave at this point because Griffin Witcher plays for the same amount of points.
He can't
but
use these dun
far
banners
from
this
ideal.
round. If he tutors for dun banner, he doesn't have a boost for them. He can't resolve Meave. Is this just a 2-0? Does Shaggy have an option here?
I cannot believe what we're seeing here. This Blaze of Glory performance from Akela has to go down in the history books. It just seemed impossible for me for him to win this game against the Defender Fall Test round 1. Everything seemed perfect for Shaggy, but Akela had other answers. The Heimei Protectors put in so much work. The Skjordel's going to come down, cleaning up the Revenant. I think that is game trying it. I cannot believe it.
Disgusting. Skjordel just kills the 2. This Revenant's not doing anything. It's just dealing 1 damage. With only the 1 Rev, he can't cycle. Rev can't damage itself. He's got a... Yeah! That's it.
Wow. I think that is the best performance I've seen in Gwent this year, Trinet. I really do.
That was a fun series.
That means Russia are the team that has placed 3rd at the Aretuza Gwent World Cup. Well played to all players involved. Austria finished a very, very respectable 2nd. They were so close yesterday to overcoming Poland and making it to the final, but they just got outdone here. What a fantastic series, and I think in particular these last couple games, Trinet, were just quite phenomenal. I'm not sure if we're going to be playing this Syndicate versus Sheki game. I'm unsure, but don't forget as well, the final is still taking place later on today with Germany taking on Poland, the biggest titans in Gwent going head to head. And yeah, I think like Akela, this game from Akela is one for the Gwent history books. I really do. Like the 3rd place playoff, okay, he would love to have done that in the final Trinet, but what a fantastic performance from the lad.
Yeah, for sure. That was, man, good games all around. From the great Elf versus Kelly game, the SK versus Kelly game. All 3 of those last 3 games were so good to watch.
Yeah.
I just don't even have words.
Apart from the Siri Dash forfeit, Siri Dash kind of ruined it a little bit at one point. That was just a non-game, which felt a little bit bad.
Was that this series or was that the previous series?
Might have been the previous.
We need instant replays, man. We need more production.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So
I think we're waiting.
In the chat. We're just Red Rain is going to let us know if we're going to play this final series out. If both players are willing to play, we are going to still watch it. Because I mean, the Gwent's been super entertaining today, and it's still quite early in the day. We've only got 1 series later on with Germany versus Poland, so we're in absolutely no rush. We're just going to enjoy this very diverse and interesting meta, and of course, it is the last competitive Gwent we're going to be seeing before the biggest Gwent tournament of all time next weekend. So I'm sure a lot of the people playing in the tournament next weekend are going to have all eyes on the series going on today as well.
Yeah, yeah. Let me bring up this screenshot real quick. I need to. Wait, that's the wrong thing. How do I do this? Remove this. Wait, what did I do? I removed the wrong thing. Uh-oh. Hopefully that's not important. I really shouldn't do anything live. This is a disaster. I think I've lost my background.
It happens. It's a good effort.
Whatever, we don't need it. We don't need it. Window capture. Here we go. Okay, there we go.
Okay, we've had confirmation of one of the players. We're just waiting to hear from the other player syndicate, who we do believe is going to play. But we'll just wait to find out in just a minute and update you. So remember, Austria 4th place, Russia 3rd. I mean, honestly, looking at the lineups before the tournament, I feel like this might have just been like the most bold prediction. Like Germany, Poland final.